Our show predictions for Extreme Rules. You already know it's your boy Jungle Lee, aka the Golden Child, here with Kid Dynamite, the People's Champ, and of course Diamond Cutter here for you today to give you some predictions for this upcoming Sunday. I'm gonna be honest, the card is a little but who knows? We could have some shocks. We could be in for some surprises. Kicking it off with two women's championship matches. We got Bayley versus Nikki Cross for the SmackDown Women's Championship title. People's champion. Floor is yours. Who are you picking?
Bayley. I mean, I love Nikki Cross. She's come a long way since her start. And I'm happy that they're finally building her as a singles competitor. But Bayley's taking it, obviously, because they're going to further that storyline between her and Sasha. So I do see Bayley retaining her championship.
Continuing on, I'm assuming the floor kind of has some similar sentiments. We keeping it Bayley. We keeping it Bayley.
I'm gonna say Bayley, but I'm also gonna say this. I'm very, very happy with the character progression that Nikki Cross is showing. She's actually showing a lot of personality lately, and I like that. So I'm gonna do what we did for the In Your House thing, which we all thought Io Shirai wasn't gonna win the title. But I'm gonna go with Bayley winning, but as far as character development goes, Nikki's gonna shine in this. And I'm also very interested to see the Sasha and Alexa Bliss dynamic, because they both play a role in this, in this championship match. One side you got, two best friends feuding, possibly getting ready to feud over a title. Then you have another pair of best friends who are just about to implode. So,
definitely.
One and the same.
True.
But Bayley.
Kid Dynamite. You're just staring into the screen. Bayley Cross.
No, I'm just thinking of the Extreme Rules logo. Honestly, it looks like the show is made for Jeff Hardy based off the colors. Like the Hardy Boys.
And he's not even on the card. That's crazy.
That's and moving on. You can tell I'm not happy, but it's a show named Extreme Rules. He has a feud, and he's not competing on the show. Not to take anything from the women, I'm digressing here, but I'm just saying this show is literally an old Hardy Boys t-shirt.
From 01. Yeah.
Yes. Or 06 with the pendant. It doesn't matter. It's their Tron. It's literally their colors, and screw it. Anyway, and they're doing cinematic matches. This would have been perfect for Matt. Anyway. Point being, I agree with the floor, but I would love to see something different. I will say that, considering we had a conversation about this earlier on the podcast with, them needing more depth in the women's division, personally, if I were booking this, I would have Nikki Cross win. And I would have Nikki Cross win because Sasha or Bayley screwed up, or Bayley lost clean and blames it on Sasha, goes delusional, or Sasha intervenes and loses it for Bayley to continue their feud. And I say that actually as a sentiment to a previous predictions we did. We were talking about the possibility of Roderick Strong being the person to take the belt off of Adam Cole, or at least igniting that feud that's kind of been building for years. I feel like the idea that the championship had to be involved in that one made sense, because that's originally why Roderick Strong went to Undisputed Era in the first place, because of his pursuit of gold, right? So the championship was kind of essential there. In the case here, Bayley and Sasha don't necessarily have to fight for the championship to fulfill their feud to the fullest extent, right? In reality, it's more of a personal thing with them, and championships have revolved around it, so it makes sense, but it doesn't have to involve a title for them to fulfill that feud. It's just more so like we would like to see the prestige of the feud more so than anything push the title to another level, which in my opinion kind of makes me feel hypocritical, because that's what they did with Rock and Cena, where they didn't need the title, but they just so happened to put the belt on it. Even though the belts had more appearances in this feud than that feud, right? It still feels like a similar concept to me. So considering the depth of the women's division right now, part of me wishes that Nikki Cross would win to kind of have her be the next one of the next top baby faces they can rely on, and possibly reignite her and Alexa Bliss, which would bring Alexa Bliss back to prominence as a top heel. And then you'd have 2 big-time women's feuds instead of 1.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm suggesting, but I know it's not going to happen. So I'm going to go with Bayley. I'm going to go with Pamela. That's who we riding with here. Chinlock gang reference, yes, but for the love of God, I wish it was the other way around, because I really do think they could make more money having Alexa Bliss return back to form as a heel, and Nikki Cross is such a lovable babyface right now. She's like the female Mick Foley in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, it works very well to her advantage, and Alexa Bliss being her rock with less charisma and less "this is my life" segments would work out great. But I know they're not going to do it. If they do it, I want 15% because I know you thought of it last second. So.
No, it's all good. All the rights do go to you, but sticking with you, let's go shift gears to the Raw Women's Championship match, where we do have, of course, the other member of the Chinlock gang. Shout out to the Bank statement. Miss Sasha Banks going one-on-one with one Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka. Who are you taking and why?
On paper, both women's championship matches in terms of work rate will deliver well. I think it may be more story-driven with Bayley and Nikki Cross, but I think this one will be a lot more wrestle-centric because these two haven't competed in a couple of years against each other one-on-one, if I'm correct. And the last time that happened, Sasha Banks got kicked out of the air mid-suicide dive. Don't do that in this match. Let's not do that. People with red hair and suicide dives in women's matches end with hurt neck, and I don't like it.
It's the weirdest, yeah.
I think this will be the pure of the 2 matches because Sasha has a lot to prove. There's a lot of momentum coming out of the Io situation as well, which would fuel the fires as we'd expect. I think that Asuka will win because even though Sasha has the ability to appear on both brands, at least they tried to make it make sense with the tag titles as opposed to Charlotte just jumping wherever she wanted. But she has the ability to appear on both brands. She's not part of Raw. And putting her as the Raw Women's Champion, logically, you can't do that. I know WWE doesn't really, uphold logic a lot. But you can't do that because she can only be Raw. She can only be on SmackDown as long as she's the tag team champion if she's the Raw Women's Champion, right? So from a logic standpoint, she can't win because she would not be able to continue the feud with Bayley because the belt would literally separate her and force her to be on Raw. You know what I mean? So from that standpoint, I think Sasha can't win. I think this will be a great match that'll help develop Sasha and kind of show her in a championship light and condition fans who, even if they have given up on Sasha Banks, they'll be conditioned to know that she can give a women's champion, a women's world champion, a run for her money. And between the two, Asuka has the less credible title reign, but she's the more credible contender, the more credible competitor, right? So even though she hasn't been holding the belt long, if you can take it to Asuka and almost beat her for the championship, people will be even more likely to believe that she could take the belt off of Bayley when they do have to fight. So I think Sasha will give a good performance, probably some heel shenanigans here and there, but she will convince the audience, similar to what Eric's mentioned with, character-making moments in matches, because it's not always about the W's and the L's. Sasha will do good, she'll lose, and she'll continue creating the case for why she should take the throne from Bayley.
Asuka. That's it. Point blank period. I agree with Ty completely. This will be a character-defining moment for Sasha. This will almost start the transition into that babyface role. If they go that route. If they go that route with Bayley still being the heel going into SummerSlam, this will transition Sasha and get people behind Sasha to say that she has a grade. She looks like she can be that babyface champion because she was a babyface champion on Raw. So they're gonna make that transition. This gonna be the turning point, and it's gonna be that transition.
Let's hope after 4 runs of her being a babyface champion, she actually gets a title reign on title reign number 5.
Yeah. And you know what? To touch on that fact before we kick it to People's Champ, you know, when you think about it, they've already kind of planted the seeds with the promo packages that they've had. You know what I mean? The fact that she's competed on all three brands, she's essentially turned into that workhorse type of star. And only, I mean, 9 times out of 10, the workhorses that you usually see in the company are either baby faces or heels destined to turn into baby faces, like a Shawn Michaels in '94. So, to your point, you know, it's almost as if it's kind of leading to that case. People's Champ, round it off with you. Who you got and why, Asuka or Ms. Banks?
I got Sasha in this one. You know, just like what everyone else has said. You know, I think that Sasha, it's time for the boss to kind of, you know, show, you know, to be the boss. I mean, she didn't come. First of all, she didn't come back for nothing. Second of all, she's been biding her time. Third of all, you can't keep promoting her how you've been promoting her just to have her lose. At least if she does lose, make it make sense. But in terms of furthering the storyline, she has to win. Because if that's the case and Bayley does retain, you have 2 dual champions at the same time. And in Sasha's case, all she wanted was for what she's doing to be taken seriously, and while her work rate, which has been fantastic, even in the worst of times overall in the company, she's proven the fact that she can do this. She can be about this without Charlotte, without Becky, you know, without Becky basically taking the spotlight. And it's funny because years ago, she was supposed to be neck and neck with Charlotte and kind of took a step back while Becky just shot up. And now she's gone. It's almost like, well, people can reintroduce the idea that Sasha Banks is a boss and she could be a credible champion. And if she does win, let's see if she can hold it longer than a Monday Night Raw or one pay-per-view. And I think she's capable of that. And I think it's time, not necessarily, you know, to demean Asuka's reign, because I thought she's done a good job with it, what she's given credit for, is just to further Asuka's storyline and where she falls along the line. It will make some great matches between them two moving forward and ushering the babyface version of Sasha Banks.
All right.
I mean, episode itself, ain't it? How the this is women's evolution week, right?
I mean,
and you know, the way we saw the 4 horsewomen when they were first originally introduced has completely U-turned. In a sense, like Charlotte and Sasha were going to be the top heels, and Becky and Bayley were going to be the top baby faces. And everybody, well, I mean, Charlotte never really switched roles, did she? She just switched reactions. But everybody else around her has gone to the other side and seen more prominence on the other side. Like Becky's biggest moments was as a heel or an antagonist. Bayley's most credible moments has been going from like, hi, I'm like the cute little sister, to like, no, they call me daddy. And, you know, Sasha went from I will stomp your whole life out to I love Eddie Guerrero and I work hard. Like, it's just kind of, that's a whole episode in itself we could do one day.
Yeah. And you know what? It's almost like, I think we mentioned it a little bit with Sami Zayn and a lot of these other NXT people get called up. You know, we have this envisioned and they're this preconceived notion of how they're going to be once they hit the main roster, right? Sami Zayn, babyface. They can't mess that up. He's a heel now? What? And then you see Bayley. Can't mess that up. She's John Cena of NXT.
That's what we were saying back then.
And they were like,
really?
Yo. You know? So, you know, it's an interesting thing to kind of see. I think that it kind of permeates through beyond the women's division, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. Another person or a set of people that played a role in this basically appear in this next match, which I'm about to bring up. MVP is going head-to-head with one of them, Apollo Crews, one-on-one for the United States Championship. The unified, the undisputed United States Champion. I believe you ended People's Champ, so let's start off with you. Who do you have and why?
Big things popping, little things stopping in the MVP lounge. Because for the first time in 13 years, The United States Championship is returning back to Montel Vontavious Porter.
That's it.
Ain't
Big E, what you thinking? You concur with this statement? Is it time for Apollo Crews to be donezo with his reign? Or will
Okay. 2 quick points.
Yeah.
One, we don't know if they're going to combine the old U.S. title with the new U.S. title, and whoever wins this gets the new U.S. title. I don't know if that's going to happen. And then 2, the interesting dynamic in this is like we spoke about earlier, which was, is Apollo going to join? Is he not going to join? What's going to happen? On that note, I'm going to take Apollo Crews in this one. I'm going to take Apollo Crews for the win. But after the match, Cedric Alexander's coming for that ass after that. Cedric Alexander's coming for him after this match. That point blank, it's just going to happen.
I'm tired of being the side cast member in your storyline. It's time for me to step up, step out.
I am not the Black Dolph Ziggler.
That's it. And it would be even more interesting. I'll even throw another wrench in there. Would be even more interesting because Ricochet has been on main event, in which I don't understand why he's on main event. But I'll even throw Ricochet in there. I think it's going to be a double beatdown. Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. That would be shock factor.
Don't turn the Beatdown Clan into the Hurt Business, because apparently they're dubbing it now the Hurt Business now. I don't know.
And that's where it is. I can see a heel turn where Cedric Alexander and Ricochet just demolish Apollo Crews, and then I just see from the heavens Ricochet hitting a 450, boom, ending it, and then walking away, and that's MVP's new guys right there.
Get swaggy with it. Kid Dynamite, cut the tide. We have one person going MVP. We have another person going Cruz. Where you going?
Yo, I'm going to be real with you. This is probably one of the more unpredictable matches on the card because there's a case to be made for any outcome. And there's so many outcomes. I think that I could see MVP winning and Apollo Crews being like trying to get his title back and being demoralized into joining the group. I could see Apollo Crews winning and joining the group anyway, because MVP's like the amount of effort MVP put into trying to take the title off him. Apollo might respect that and just be like, you know what, maybe y'all ain't so bad, you know? I could see a situation where Apollo Crews wins, MVP's not happy about it, and the Hounds come out. You know, Ricochet and Cedric Alexander just finesse his ass with some like low-key eliminators, ECW meets Cruiserweight Division type beatdown. Like, honestly, it's just going to look like they zooming across the ring like Dragon Ball Z or some shit. I could see that happening. I could also see a scenario where that happens and Shelton comes out to make the save, picks Apollo up and beats him down too, and now it's a 3-on-1 beatdown. You know, like there's so many different possibilities, but here's what I will say. I am undecided. I will stay undecided on this one. I'm not breaking any ties because I see two sides here. I see Randy on his Black Lesnar type thing. Don't do that before he appear behind you and rip that belt from your grasp. My point being, I think that if Apollo wins, it will eventually come down to a scenario where he will be fighting MVP's goons, where it'll be either Cedric, Ricochet, and Shelton, or just Cedric and Ricochet. And if that scenario happens, I think Shelton will get involved and help Apollo be like, yo, I see a little bit of myself in you. You know, I used to be just like you, you know, and then beat his ass down. And then eventually Apollo will join. If MVP wins, I think that Apollo will go down the more sympathetic, trying to rebuild him as like this like sympathetic figure route. And just when you think he's found Jesus, I think he'll join MVP. But what is cool about this match is that there are a lot of cool scenarios that can pop up out of it, which all have satisfying endings. So that's something to look forward to just for this match alone. So I'd say this might be one of the more interesting matches on the card.
Definitely. You know, honestly, this is probably my most, you know, I look forward to this one the most, not only because of all the Lennon, but because of the possibilities, as you just mentioned so eloquently. A matchup that needs no introduction is an eye for an eye. Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins, Kid Dynamite. And then I gotta go to one of his disciples.
First off, Eric, fuck your shirt. Second,
Wait, I don't. The light is not. There we go.
Second, this is the most Vince McMahon booked match I've ever heard conceptually. And the funny thing about this, because people are giving this match a lot of crap, we've talked about this. This match would have been perfect for Lucha Underground. WWE has this thing where reality is referred to on a whim. When they feel like reality needs to be mentioned, they will mention it. But otherwise, they're in their own little world where for the longest COVID hasn't existed. We just changed the venue to fit, the times and this and that. Like, this is a match that they have to have purposely booked because it sounds so outlandish. They want you to watch this pay-per-view to see how it comes out. This is like, it has a similar feeling to me like a clickbait title on a YouTube video or something. It's so outrageous, you click it just out of curiosity to see if it even remotely lives up to what it's asking you to do or what it's intending for the video to be. And I know Ray's losing. Let's just get this out the way. Ray's losing this match because I've never seen a rendition of One-Eyed Jesus. Of all the different Jesus variations there have been, White Jesus, Black Jesus, Raptor Jesus, all these ridiculous renditions of Jesus outside of like the ones that we're conventionally used to, right? Or these unorthodox Jesuses, not ridiculous, but just like you wouldn't think of it, right? I've never seen Jesus with an eye patch. And CrossFit Jesus isn't getting an eye patch. As cool as that would fit his Jigsaw-esque aesthetic, I don't think he's going to lose his eye. Rey Mysterio's already been rocking this one-eyed deal. He looks like himself in SVR08 with the Gladiator helmet. Like at this point, Ray's gonna be a one-eyed veteran that's like, listen, man, don't fuck with me, man. Like that's where he's at. So he's gonna be the Don. He's gonna be like the Don. He's gonna be the Godfather to Dominic's success. He's gonna be on that like, I'm not gonna say cartel, but I'm going to say he's gonna be on that like, I am the boss type deal. This is my boy. We have been training him for a minute. He's gonna take the Mysterio name and take it to new heights. And if you fuck with the Mysterios, it's over. That's what I feel like this is gonna lead to. Some sort of character shift in Rey Mysterio. Now I hear they're gonna be having some CGI in this match. They about to go full on sci-fi with this. This is probably where the horror aspect of this show is really gonna dwell, right? Mm-hmm. Ray's losing his eye, or it's gonna end in a draw. And I still don't get why this match has to happen. I agree with everybody here. Why was this match, not this specific match, but why was this one-on-one matchup not for SummerSlam? I'll never understand. But we're here. I'm not going to understand it. Ray's losing.
We give it to Biggie, yeah.
I'm going to go with this. Wait, get the light and everything. Rey Mysterio.
You look like a silhouette.
Understand something. We're not doing this because we hate you. We're doing this because we care about you. We're doing this because you have to see the light. In order to see the light, you have to lose your vision.
Beat your ass.
And in that sense,
yeah.
In that sense, I am going with the Monday Night Messiah. And I will say this as well. AEW did this match first. Just putting that out there.
They did.
And if nobody remembers it, it was Moxley and Ortiz. And they did this match. Just throwing that out there. But going back to this, Seth Rollins will prevail. Seth Rollins will continue to spread his good word with both his eyes at that. And, I would have liked to see this match as a SummerSlam match, but I guess they're going to hold off on that and have Dominic be the SummerSlam opponent, which would, I guess, in a sense, make more sense. But I would love to have seen Dominic become a disciple because right now, I believe Murphy's the only one right now that's on TV.
Where is AOP, actually?
AOP, they're hurt.
Yeah.
They're sideline injured.
How long are they gonna be out? It's a real question.
I
don't know, man.
And how long is Murphy gonna be out? I saw him get black masked on the second rope. Does he even make an appearance at this event?
Murphy's been on TV.
No, I know, but the last time I saw him, he literally was mid springboard, and Alice just said nah, and just glitched the game out and kicked him mid. Randy's reaction is all you gotta know. He saw the clip. I've never seen something so savage. This man was.
Oh, Michael Shelby? Whoa, hey. Well, we're digressing, but.
No, but I mean, like, remember when, like, Matt Hardy or The Miz would come out and they'd be, like, you know, leaning on the rope during their entrance? Imagine Aleister Black was just on the apron and just just knocked them off midway. That's what happened to Murphy.
No, you're right.
Murphy.
People's
like
chin. People's chin. Go ahead.
He peeked his head out the window and got hit with a rock, man.
People's chin. Go ahead, man. But you
gotta look for danger and got
make some sense out of this, man. Make some sense out of this.
Yo.
Join the light.
Seth got to win this match for every reason that there is. For one, storyline purposes. To what we said weeks ago about Dominic joining his new ministry or whatever Seth's trying to do. The disciples. Oh my God. I don't know why this stipulation exists. It is sometimes like, yeah, I just wish that, I wish that I was a spirit, like one of those like superheroes who had certain powers, like to have invisibility, to go to Vince's office and slap fire out of him when he makes these stupid ass decisions. Like these stipulations, man, it just makes you want to slap the fire out of him. But then again, it's technically murder because he's in his late 70s.
No, not if you pull that spirit that beat Patrick's ass that one time on SpongeBob. Yeah. That's what I want to do to Vince sometimes too. I'm still trying to figure out if Murphy alive.
I can't take it nowhere.
Listen, man. Even Seth's storyline has been skewed in a sense. Like it started off like it has great promise. They've stifled him in some ways in progression of this new story, and he's one of your biggest stars. And the fact that you're not promoting him enough, you got to give him the win.
And you know what? To top it off, that he's been on a pay-per-view losing streak.
He has.
He
has. His pay-per-view losing streak, I think it goes back as far as what? WrestleMania. WrestleMania, Money in the Bank. What was after that?
Happened? Backlash. I think who did he face?
I don't think he was on the card.
Oh, he wasn't on the card? I just know he's been on a losing streak for a while. But in any event, he does need a win. And they need to basically progress that storyline. Another storyline that needs some progressing is Friday Night SmackDown's main event storyline that has Braun Strowman going up against Bray Wyatt. Now, I will note this Wyatt Compound Part 2, Part 3 Junior match is non-title.
It is?
It is non-title. It's non-title. So
that's why I did this. It is a non-title matchup.
Is anybody? No, before I even ask, is anybody gonna pick Strowman?
No.
Okay. I was about to say. Like, is there any? Go ahead.
Was gonna pick Braun Strowman in a swamp match against OG Wyatt.
Bro,
I'm not even calling him Bray Wyatt. He's OG Wyatt.
I told you this belt
Robert
don't exist,
De Niro was gonna win. Robert De Niro is gonna win this match. Okay, I'm not even calling him Wyatt. He's Robert De Niro at this point. Robert De Niro is gonna win this match. Why? Because if history serves itself, and I could be wrong here. It's been a while. The House of Horrors match, he lost that match to Randy. The compound match with the New Day, I believe the Wyatt family won that match. if I'm not mistaken.
They just ran away after.
Yeah, they just ran away. New Day couldn't handle it. And now you're doing a third match at the compound, at the swamp, where basically somebody's getting tossed into a lake. Matt Hardy's not there.
Bray don't do well in the woods, do he? He don't do well outside. Because last time he got thrown to the lake of reincarnation.
And he never felt any more wonderful. But I'm telling you, Robert De Niro is taking this match. Bray Wyatt, OG Wyatt, Robert De Niro is going to win this match. It's going to do absolutely nothing for either character, to be honest with you. If anything, this diminishes both guys. And it's kind of hard to diminish Bray Wyatt, but it's going to diminish him at this point. The fact that the Universal title's not on the line is kind of
diminishing the title.
It's diminishing the title.
It's diminishing all around.
Three things are being diminished: characters, the title, and now the match. Because if you bring, let's just say they decide to bring Wyatt back in the near future, the OG Wyatt. Yeah. Now it's like, oh, you're going to do this again for a fourth time. You're going to do a Wyatt family thing. It's like, it's not special. It's not special anymore. Now, what is going to be special and if I don't know if we're going to do a show on it, I'll propose it, a SummerSlam fantasy card show. You should see The Fiend at SummerSlam. You should see The Fiend. Braun Strowman has yet to fight The Fiend. He has fought the Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt. He's getting ready to fight Robert De Niro. Now you got to go up against The Fiend. And you're
You know what? You bring up an excellent point. And as a matter of fact, that does raise some intrigue in this match to some extent of will Bray ultimately win, because it's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I'm never getting fooled again. I'm gonna get my hired gun. They did the same thing, when Stone Cold's reign up against, the 3 faces of Foley, and we've seen it, during that time. So while
the Fiend is basically
it's endgame.
Wyatt's ace.
He's endgame. He's Boo. He's Super Boo. Like it's on another level. I will say though, in defense of, because you did touch on the fact that like the character or the mystique of OG Wyatt is kind of taken away. I'll come into defense of that only for one reason and one reason only. The storyline does in some respect demand it. And that you can't necessarily say that for other stories, because it's like, put it this way, like if OG Wyatt was coming out against, let's say, a person that he feuded before as OG Wyatt, Roman Reigns, we talked about Moxley, in AEW, but, the people that he feuded with before, if OG Wyatt came out beforehand, then it would have kind of taken away some form of bluster. But it's a person that not only he's kind of interacted with before, but under that character, he has a history with. So there's some form of OG. That's why when he first appeared on SmackDown a couple weeks back, we were like, look at this.
Don't get me wrong.
Look at this. This is
interesting.
So,
it's an interesting dynamic. But the thing is that how many times are you going to put Wyatt in this kind of match and bring back that character?
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Because one thing Wyatt doesn't get enough credit for, and he hasn't got there yet. But Wyatt doesn't get enough credit for also reinventing himself as well. Because a lot of people don't realize, a lot of people were against the Firefly, and just throw it out there. Today marks a year when he debuted as The Fiend. But also, not a lot of people were behind the Firefly, Funhouse thing. A lot of people were like, oh man, this Mr. Rogers bullshit and everything.
I was behind it since day one.
I've been on it. Me and Randy have been on it since day one. I loved it. But Wyatt doesn't get enough credit for his characters. Now you're going to place him in a match where it's, okay, Braun Strowman and OG Wyatt, they never really had an encounter facing each other. And that's okay. I can appreciate that. But what I can't appreciate is the fact that you're going to keep putting him in these swamp matches and all these matches. So every time that you have OG Wyatt come back, OG Wyatt is going to be attached to basically a Woods match or something that has to do with his character. And then you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. That's my point. I get it from a storyline standpoint. I get it from everything how it is, because it's honestly, if you're really looking at it, it's honestly pushing Braun Strowman to be that monster again. Because basically he's like, yo, you lost it. He's looking at him like, yo, you lost it. So I'm gonna show you that I haven't lost it, because I can bring it back anytime I feel like it. I want you to bring it back.
And
so I understand.
I want to ask you a question, E. If it wasn't for the swamp element, bro, do you think that it would have been a better look if they just had a straight up one-on-one match?
If they had a straight up one-on-one match, I still feel like it would serve better, because I'm gonna tell you why. It would serve better because
That's what I wanted to know.
it would serve better because it still progresses the story. You're still trying to, because it's a story within a story. The bigger story, the big story of it all is about the Universal title. Yes, we know that. But the story within the story is that I'm trying to bring out the Braun Strowman that I knew, the Braun Strowman that I birthed. And yes, I birthed you, and I can destroy you because I know how to do it. But I want to see it first.
Yes.
That's basically what it is. It's the story within the story. So I would have appreciated more of a singles match rather than it being a gimmick match.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Because that's the question I wanted to pose to you. Because I would agree the fact that it doesn't need the gimmick match, but like Jay and Ty would allude to, the character that he was before, OG Wyatt, would present itself to satisfy this current story. And like you said, and I don't think anyone's even thinking about it from that perspective, the fact that the only reason why I'm doing this is to bring that side of you out. You've been complacent in who you are. You're not the same. You're not the same guy. You're not the same guy that basically was like people were hot for when you were going against Brock Lesnar.
You claim you're a monster, but you're not a monster.
Like you're there, but you're not as hungry. He's trying to rediscover that hunger. What makes Braun destroy it?
It's interesting because go ahead, Ty. I'll
I actually have a different perspective on this. I think that what y'all are saying is valid, but I think it's only part of the story, personally. In regards to what you said, Eric, about how you'd rather be a normal match, I actually disagree on this one, and I'll tell you why. There are two elements of the overall picture that work against Bray Wyatt in this sense, but actually work in his favor equally at the same time. Number one, Bray Wyatt has been on WWE TV for approximately almost 7 years. We're at 6 to 7 years. And as you said, this is the first full year of him being the Fiend, which means that a majority of his time on television has been the Swamp Father, this, the character. So the Fiend for this whole year has had a very complicated history. And a lot of the stuff that Bray Wyatt has done as the Fiend could have been rearranged, rebooked, we know that. But now Bray's in a position right now where he's found character flexibility that's allowing him to make the best out of bad situations. Now, out of every person, every cinematic match we've had, the best ones have come from people who have suited the cinematic feel the most. Those two individuals being Undertaker and Bray Wyatt. Out of everybody in the company who's been forced to do a cinematic matches, these are the two characters we come back to the most when we talk about the best ones. We've agreed on that. And that's one of the reasons why I feel this match warrants a cinematic match. Now, let's be honest. Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman as two hosses can have a phenomenal match from a work rate standpoint. That's true. But the purpose of him bringing back this character and why it merits that is not just because he's trying to bring a monster out of Braun. Bray is trying to bait Braun into fighting him again. Braun Strowman humiliated Bray the first time they fought. Bray thought he had Braun all figured out. And Braun turned the tables on him with his own type of mind game and won the match. And you saw how Bray was reacting after the match. He felt betrayed. He felt humiliated. He was led astray. He was flabbergasted. Shout outs to Haha Davis. This man was in disarray to the point where there was static showing up on the screen. Bray Wyatt, this is their second encounter, and it's been a minute. Bray's had to recollect himself, and he's found an essence of himself that he hasn't been in before. The preacher gimmick that he's been in before. And he's using that gimmick to play off of what Braun did the first time, bringing back the Wyatt family, which is why that merits it coming back as a gimmick. And we all agree that was a cool idea. This whole match is a full circle of what they can do with the Wyatt elements they have left. They don't have Eric Rowan. They don't have Luke Harper anymore. This is them coming full circle in the Wyatt storyline. And them being in a swamp match, whether it's good or bad, storyline-wise, it's going to make sense because, one, it's the culmination of all this Wyatt stuff. But two, Bray wants revenge. He's had all this time to think about getting revenge. And he wants to embarrass Braun. And what better way to embarrass Braun than returning to the person that hypnotized him in the first place, one. And two, doing it in a area where Braun at one point called home. Because if we're going by the Wyatt family lore, Braun was cultivated here. He was born here. This is his actual origin. Screw the monster facing Brock Lesnar. This is where Braun was born. And him embarrassing Braun in this environment would logically prompt a third match. Braun embarrass Bray. Bray brings you back to your house to embarrass you in front of your family. Like, put it in that context, right? I'm bringing you back home after all this time apart to get back at you for that rib you gave me the last time we hung out.
And you know what? To touch on that, it's like that's why the cinematic element, to your point, Tyler, like I kind of vibe with it only because, not only because of that, but to touch on the Bray Wyatt character over this past year being in the ring. You were already in the ring for Money in the Bank. You basically had that match.
Yep.
We know the match for the story, not for the match itself.
Yep.
What do we know Bray Wyatt for? We know for moments, similar to Undertaker. So you have to play on those moments the way that they are. Maybe being a swamp match, potentially you couldn't necessarily have an out and out quote unquote swamp match where you have to go back to the compound. But a cinematic element that would play onto that will. Perhaps you could, like, let's say if they met in the middle and they had some form of a cinematic match similar to Randy Orton and Edge, where they ended up somewhere that semblance a swamp or something to that nature.
Or even like a 2K20 storyline where
it would work. Like it would play on to those avenues, because if it was a full-on match, especially with the no crowd or barely crowd around, I don't know if it's going to have that same effect that the story necessitates.
And to touch on that, oh my bad. No, but to touch on that, this is the middle match. We know a third one is coming because the Fiend has to appear. So to give away the match, to give away the in-ring match this early going into the SummerSlam build doesn't benefit SummerSlam because we're just going to get a rehash of what happens here. So they're playing up to the theme. You also have the fact that Bray Wyatt, like we've had a lot of cinematic matches, like you've mentioned, right, Eric? Like I said, Bray Wyatt has been the one who's excelled at most of them to the point where Bray Wyatt, being a student of Matt Hardy in a sense as well, this is his domain. With the creative control he's had over cinematic-esque matches, even the match with Braun before was a taped match with a lot of acting before, right? So this is kind of playing up to the strengths that Bray has and hiding the fact that this isn't going to be a technical classic. This match is storyline driven to keep you going so that we have a reason to revisit this for SummerSlam when the Fiend comes out. Because you got to think of it, Bray embarrassing Braun to the point where Braun wants to fight Bray again. You got to remember, now we don't have rematch clauses or anything. We need legitimate reasons why they need to fight again if WWE wants to uphold that gimmick. You embarrass Braun. Braun goes, I don't want to take that loss the way that I did. That hurt. That hit way too much to home. Now I want to fight you again, and I'm going to kill you. So now we've basically got Braun to the point where he's psyched up to the point where this is peak Braun. Like, this is the monster, like you said, from 2016. This is the monster he was supposed to be, and he's bringing that into SummerSlam. So what does Bray bring out to match that? His ace. His third persona, the Fiend, which will give you a much more intense match conceptually. That's the blow off to this actual feud. And because there are no rematch clauses, if Bray wins, that's it. Braun doesn't get another chance. So while I agree that the Universal Championship, like at first when you said the Universal title was on the line, I didn't even know. But then I thought about it as you guys were talking, and I'm like, it doesn't need to be. Because Braun beat Bray clean. This is about Bray trying to get another match and doing it in the most embarrassing way possible. He is embarrassing Braun at a Christmas party with all of family around, and now he wants to warrant a real fight. Because we know this isn't going to be like a real fight. It's going to be a fight, but it's not going to be like anything people are going to be like. It'll be memorable, but it's not going to be like, oh, that was legit, like a crazy thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be good, but you're not going to sit there and be like, yo, they killed each other. Unless they actually killed each other. I don't know what they're going to do in this match. But if it's going the way that I think it's going to go, I think it's going to warrant a third match logically. And I think because Bray plays so well off of these cinematic-esque matches, he's going to maneuver it with Braun, who's one of his closest friends, to make something good and give us what you want at SummerSlam. So I say I'm going to go with the cinematic feel. I'm going to go with Bray winning. I'm going to go with him trying to get Braun to SummerSlam by using this as the best, like, cliffhanger to get us ready for the SummerSlam build. Because now you're going to see them at their best in the third match.
All right. So we got a Bray. Big E, you said
Bray.
you going Bray. Randy, going Bray?
Bray.
I think with this is all unanimous.
Throw the title in the swamp.
As is, yeah.
Throw the title in the swamp. Make it come out with Wyatt's face on it.
Yeah, dude.
That would be dope.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. You throw the title in the swamp.
Yeah, I'm giving you a reason to watch on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you there.
Okay, I like it.
I don't want it to come out of the swamp though. I don't like this title though.
Hey man, it is what it is.
That WWE title still in the New York Sound. I don't want that.
Hey, listen. Speaking of the WWE title, I don't even want to talk about it. I mean, like, let's be real. Not even when how long it's gonna be, because we already know we got Dolph, we got Drew. How long is this gonna be?
10 minutes.
First off, there's no stipulation for this match yet.
Yeah.
And I thought they would announce that on Monday, but whatever.
Unfortunately, I read a spoiler, so I think I know what it might be. I'm not saying it here. But
okay.
Cool. But how like
grand opening, grand closing. That's what I'm saying.
Grand opening, grand closing. All right, we going Drew.
Yeah, gotta go with Drew.
I'd go with the turnbuckle.
You know,
That's my guess.
thigh slap.
Dolph gonna bump into it. He's gonna bump into it hard.
Thigh slaps and turnbuckle, because
thigh slaps and turnbuckle.
Claymore.
I want to let me make this clear. I want Dolph to have more going into this. I really do. But you got to understand, man, like, when Heath Slater is the most hyped thing about the build, and no offense to Dolph because he's an amazing performer, and I think we're going to look back on this feud a little bit differently in a couple of years. It's just one of those things where it's like, because of the momentum you're going in with it now, obviously, we could all agree. It's like, we kind of know where this is going. And Drew's trucking along in this reign. He's doing great. So you don't want to cut the legs under Drew yet. He'll be 5'10" at that point. So,
yeah. I mean, still tall by some standards. I feel bad because Dolph Ziggler's my boy, but it's like, for the past 3 title matches, whether IC or World, is just like, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. It's only diminishing your career to some extent, even though it's like you kind of you kind of stagnated. You missed the perfect in the 90s.
You know why he's here.
Yeah.
I'll make a quick comment before we end.
Yeah.
I actually commented as myself as my Facebook profile. I commented on our page with somebody who was arguing the fact that Dolph Ziggler doesn't get enough credit. And I told him, and this is how I countered it. I said, how can you, unless you're a hardcore fan, how can you as a regular fan get behind Dolph Ziggler if the company continues to do what they do with him? They put him in title matches, they hype him up, they say, listen, you go out there and you give the best performance of your life. You're going to win the title. No, you're not. We're just placing you here because guess what? you're the only guy that's around. You're the company yes man. You're gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna go out there and do it.
He's not the only victim of that, because Sasha Banks a couple years ago was talking about how she felt.
Sasha was a victim of that.
And these are people with short-term.
A victim of it.
Exactly.
Zack Ryder was a victim of it.
But you know what? The thing is like, because I remember having this conversation with Ty and Randy earlier, earlier on, in regards to basically who would you basically favor? Because it's like, you kind of, we look at this generation, it's almost as if we kind of enhance the past in certain ways. And then like the present, we kind of like to poop on. In the NBA, it's kind of like, oh, we hate Kyle Lowry because he chokes in the playoffs. It's like, well, he gets to the playoffs. And then in the WWE, it's like, oh, you never won the big one, this mid card to upper tier talent like Dolph Ziggler. But it's like, well, Mr. Perfect, they legit did the same thing with him. But it's like a similar but different certain situations where you look back at it and you're just looking at certain moments that basically, put it this way, 20 years down the line, people will look at Dolph Ziggler's career off of moments, as we mentioned with Bray and et cetera, because WWE makes moments. They don't make matches, they make moments. So they look back at 2013. They'll look back at Survivor Series 2014. They'll look back at 2016 versus Miz, similar to how 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they look back at perfect certain situations. Not saying one career was better than the other, because there was definitely some difference there, whether or not one was better than the other.
No, they're going to look at it for moments, but I think...
But it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, even when the company kind of screws you over, you do kind of have to... Like, I'm 50-50, but like the conversation between the fan and you, because it's like, at a certain point, you're given what you're given. And if I were to basically be on your camp, I would have to be like Gene in the case of Roman Reigns, like, fuck this guy. Because it's like, oh, he gets all this thing. But it's like, at a certain point, I got to step back and be like, hey, this is what they're given. You know what I mean?
Yeah, here's the thing. Where I stand with that is this. You have to realize, like Gene said, like, different eras give you different opportunities. And I would say the past 10 or 12 years of WWE, right, probably since the end of Ruthless Aggression, has been an era of a lot of what could have been. I haven't seen this many what ifs in WWE since Ruthless, because Ruthless had so many different matchups we didn't think we would see. Mm-hmm. But this is the what if era. You could talk about reality, PG, this and that. I think it's just a what if era, because so many different things that could have happened and probably should have happened. It's like, you have to realize, like, people make these arguments like, how come New Japan, people, like, it's like New Japan has a core 4 people that usually get pushed, right? We just saw Evil win the IWGP Championship and the Intercontinental title, which was awesome. But, like, how often does that happen? The past couple years, the title revolved around, like, 4 people. If it wasn't Okada, it was Tanahashi. If it wasn't Tanahashi, it was this person, it was that person. And then sometimes you see a guest appearance from another person, but that core 4 was mainly it. The difference between WWE and other promotions is that Vince, like we always say it, an audience of one, right? What does Vince want? What is allowed to happen? And oftentimes, someone's talent isn't reflected by how they're pushed. To which I say, I can understand where they're coming from. Like, Dolph is an amazing performer. He's one of the best sellers in the history of that company, one of the best sellers all time in professional wrestling. You can make that argument if he's not in the top 15. He's in the top 15. And that's adding underrated people, too. Like, this man got told to stop selling like that to extend his career by Arn Anderson. Like,
great storyteller too, because those are non-inclusive. But
yes, he's a great storyteller. He's an amazing talent, and the only thing I fault him for is that if he felt like he wasn't achieving enough, then he should have left. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can really fault him for. Him staying, he understood the company's not going to use him a certain way. He's just doing the best that he can in certain situations. For all intents and purposes, he tried to help elevate Drew the best he could the first time when they were in a tag team, based on what they were given. And I give credit to where it's due. It's not good TV, but I will give him credit for where credit is due. As far as how people will look at these things in a similar respect. So yes, like Jay said, like previous eras of different people, right? Where it'll deviate is how well they did with the role they did and how much success they were able to garner despite the deficiency, which is where Mr. Perfect wins, because do we even really have to answer that? Like, Mr. Perfect being in the era that he was in, everyone said it, even on commentary. They were saying this man should have been WWE champ.
I mean, the thing is, the difference between those two, you hit the nail on the head right before you got into it. It was just the fact that when he realized he achieved all he could,
he went to WCW.
And so his legacy basically sustained itself. It didn't devalue because of that.
And the WCW reign didn't work out the best, granted, but he tried. At least he tried. Dolph, you know, he could have went to Independence a couple years ago when his contract ran out, right? He could have went to a different promotion. Maybe he could have been a good guy. He could have been a great gaijin in Japan, honestly. Granted, you know, he'd have to take care of himself with the selling because they will legitimately knee you in the face if you don't take care of yourself. But he could have done different things. And I think that Dolph will be remembered as in a similar respect to how people remember guys like Christian, how they'll remember guys who are like Cody Rhodes even when he was there. Like people you know should have been in that spot, but it's not their fault that they weren't. It's not like they didn't work hard enough, right? Yeah. No one's going to sit here, like those three names alone, Cody Rhodes, Christian, and Dolph Ziggler, we're going to sit here and say they didn't work hard enough, that they weren't deserving of that spot? No, it was just a matter of the guy in charge couldn't see the talent in front of him, and we're seeing that with a lot of different people. So I agree with them on that front. But in the same regard, what you see on TV is like, what you see on TV is kind of hard to get invested when it's like, nigga, Dolph, at the point, he got so depressed, he became Shawn Michaels light. Like, this man just started changing his attire. He can't smile. He's here. Like, his most enjoyment is the jokes he makes on social media.
I'm very happy to be here. That's it.
But yeah, it's like,
it all goes down to those decisions that you make when you reach that point. So it is what it is. But that being said, it is a pay-per-view that we are going to be watching. Hopefully Dolph don't die. You know,
he will.
But in any event, we're going to watch it regardless. From People's Champ, Diamond Cutter, Kid, Tyner, Mike, myself, Golden Child, we're out.